Welcome back to Midwest eSports Formula One Division 1, and tonight for Week 9, we are at COTA, Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas.
I cannot wait for this race. You can't see it because my camera was acting up tonight, but I am in full flannel and a cowboy hat. I got the 10-gallon on tonight just for COTA. This is one of my all-time favorite tracks and one that I really hope to get to in person someday because it really just offers a little bit of everything. You have some wonderful straights, you have some incredible corners, and of course, those just wonderful back and forth corners. I can't remember what I was trying to say. The espresso's still kicking in here. But yeah, this one is going to be phenomenal, especially diving into the new year following some very intense action in Hungary. We missed it on our stream, but we definitely caught it in the replays, in the highlights, and in the stewards room.
Yes, there was a couple different things that happened after Week 1 all wrapped up, so I gotta pull it up real quick. Caught me off guard.
So do I. Sorry, I did not mean to throw right
the
into
throw
that,
without the throw.
The massive throw here. Well, I do have it pulled up, and we are waiting as just a couple of the cars are out on track right now. We are hitting the 16-minute mark on Q1 and only, and we're on board with our only substitute tonight, I believe. It is in the AlphaTauri. In for Ryan Rods is Travis Scott yet again. Ryan Rods is set to return later this season. He took an approved long term of absence, but he will be back before the end of the season. So Travis Scott gets the seat again. He is one of a handful of cars deciding to head out on this track in the early sunset, try and capitalize on that cooling, the heat that is still out there on the pavement here early on in qualifying. But Travis Scott was not one of the offenders last week. We had a handful of drivers sent to the sin bin, those being WS Bacon and GSR Edwin, Scarenzi and Race Day, and then Scarenzi yet again. We can dive into a little bit what happened last week. There were a couple of cheeky overtakes or attempted overtakes, but in summary, Edwin and Race Day walked away with some pretty significant penalties, bumping them down on the grid a few notches, while Scarenzi was he was given back 5 seconds that the game applied to him in an improper call.
Yes, sometimes the game hands out penalties that aren't fully deserved, and the computer doesn't do the best job, so his time penalty was removed. And then we had Race Day in Ferrari, who originally finished 5th, but received a 5-second penalty for intentionally going out or crashing out during qualifying, and then a second one for a collision and an incident with Scarenzi on the racetrack, I think in lap 4.
Yeah, he also received a league penalty point for each one of those incidents. But just the stewards report, I did have to laugh at that first incident between Scarenzi and Race Day, where Race Day crashed out and affected the qualifying of Scarenzi. The stewards, I believe head steward Knuckles was the one to report. Our rules are written so that they do not allow us to penalize any beyond this point, beyond a 5-second penalty and a 1 league penalty point. But not only is retiring on track against the rules, even more so it is intentionally crashing in quali or otherwise. If we could throw the book at this one, we would. So Race Day really ruffling some feathers there with an intentional crash out during quali that affected some of the other drivers on track. So we'll have to see if that storyline continues between Scarenzi and Race Day here today in Austin. We are on board now with the Ferrari of Race Day in Sector 2 in this wonderful evening sunlight. It's the golden hour here in the Big South. What's the Lone Star State? I combined the Big Easy and
the Big South.
The Big South. I mean, that is kind of Texas.
It is, yeah. It's the biggest southern state we have. It is a beautiful one when the sun is setting. I will always remember those visions of Leclerc in the Ferrari coming over the crest with the sun setting behind the car. One of those iconic videos from F1.
Oh, yeah, you cannot beat it. But Bacon, if you're playing a joke, it is not a funny one. Bacon in the comments saying full wet. So we might be seeing some weather here in today's race. But again, Bacon is known for some shenanigans here and there. So I'm not sure if that's real or not. We're going to head to the paddock chat and see if we saw anything there. Oh, it is going to be full wet.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Good luck, gentlemen. I saw them talking about not racing at sunset because the sun would be blaring into their eyes, and it's not going to matter because it will be downpouring into their eyes. Every time I've been to Texas, I can't remember a rain happening while I'm there, a significant one. I hope it's not like a Florida rain because those ones are nasty.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think
Texas is a little lighter on the rain. Like, is it dry rain?
I think Texas is one of those states where if it rains, it pours. You know, like you can have some real bad weather, but it's not a guarantee. I don't know. It might be consistent. I mean, it's going to be wet for the entire race. The question now is how heavy will this rain be? Obviously, if it's a downpour, that is going to significantly affect the speed and the action here today, the safety to boot. But, you know, if it's just a little drizzle and the track stays wet, we might be able to switch to inters at some point during today's event to get a little bit more action. But that all remains yet to be seen. We are on board with our current points leader in the Aston Martin. It's Scarenzi, who is trying to set pace and move up from that starting grid, that nulled starting grid, 15th.
Yes, he only has one victory so far this season. That was in Abu Dhabi, but he is leading the Drivers' Championship by 12 points, sitting above Gott Palmer. Then a decent gap to Aero Racing Design and Race Day down in 4th. There's alarms going off in the pit or in the garage.
Car's coming in. It's time to go to work. It is impressive, Scarenzi able to hold on to all of those points. I mean, we say we're a broken record. He is a consistent driver, one of the most consistent. He is an absolute anchor here on this grid. But the fact that he has, sat himself up in first place in the points with just one win on the season is a testament to just how consistent he can be. The other driver that we had our eyes on, Ryan Rods, like I said in the beginning, has taken a long leave of absence through the holiday season. Not sure what's going on there. Not my place to know. But we do know that Ryan Rods will be back later this season to resume his, to reclaim his seat in AlphaTauri. But he is now in, 16th place because he's missed all of this time. So doesn't look like this is going to be the huge return that he was looking for back to D1 after a short hiatus. But season 12 is right around the corner.
We also had a fun one last week with NLR Mackie filling in for Haas. Both of their usual drivers were sitting out. So Mackie came in as a reserve and took home the victory. And now Haas has both of their original drivers, Electric Blade and Scavney, back. And I'm remembering right, Mackie did the same thing in the first or second race of the season, earlier on. He was filling in for another team, legend in the league, and just fills in when he's needed, and we don't have enough team subs to move up, and always puts the pressure on everyone else out there.
Yeah, absolutely. NLR Mackie, like you said, taking the win in Mexico mid-December, so just 3 races ago. It seems like forever, though. I mean, the holidays just, kind of go by like COVID. Like it doesn't, those dates don't, they all blur together. But then you look up and you're like, oh, it's been a month and a half. Okay, what just happened there? Fireballer crawling to a stop here as he lets Sui go by. No, not Sui. Someone else in one of the Haas's fly by.
Did want to sit on board with Fireballer as he attacks this lap because we'll get a good look at this track as it drives because it has some very interesting sections. I mean, first you've got this ski hill of a finish line and going up into turn one, which then gets very wide, which is unusual for a lot of these corners. We saw some crazy action in the real F1 race there this season. Then you have a nice sweeping section of maybe not chicanes. I don't know what defines a chicane.
Transitions like this. I mean,
squirrely
this
bit. I think this is, if there's a squirrely bit on an F1 track, it is here in Coda.
100% that is the squirrely bit. One of the most difficult sections of track for me to master in my early days of racing F1 on a wheel. Once you get to that fourth turn, you really have to be dialed in, and you have to feather through turn 3 in that sequence to really benefit from that entire sequence there. It's a tough one.
And then it also has, these two corners are both acute angles, so smaller than 90 degrees.
Nice.
I knew it. I was hoping a game 50-50. But these ones are tough. This one's very tough because thanks to the outside, you're going downhill, you're making a left-hand turn, track slopes to the right, spin out there almost all the time, and then spin out in this next one too. Because you drive that first part not like a corner, and it's weird.
Yes. Yeah, this track does a wonderful job of rubber banding your drive. And what I mean by that is, you're hitting the gas on these huge straights. You have these wide open, swooping corners. Look how much he is just wide open through. If he wouldn't have jumped into the pits, he would have been wide open through that entire way through the finish. But then you do have the squirrely bits, and you have some really technical sections that make it a true challenge here. So this one has the elevation changes. It has the wide corners. It has the tight corners, obtuse and acute. I mean, you have all of the different shapes, the triangles all over the place here in Austin, Texas.
And geometry is such a hard one with all the names that they have.
That's where I left off in my math journey, was high school geometry. Shout out.
Yeah, that's all you need to know anyways. After that, it's calc.
I learned my shapes, Miss Spurlock. I did it.
I think I had her too.
Yeah, you probably did.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out. No, this one is a ton of fun. And yeah, it is, it's one of those tracks you love to hate it. And especially, I know everyone is going to be a little clenched going into turn 1. You always are. Everyone gets that straight shot up the hill. And although the turn is wide, it's never wide enough. Someone is going to try and steal a line without a doubt. So if we can make it through the first 2 turns without incident, it should be a relatively clean and exciting first lap. But very likely we could be seeing an early safety car here in today's race. Just under 5 minutes to go, and Gott Palmer is sitting pretty atop the grid with provisional pole at a 1:32.254, absolutely flying 0.3 faster than race day's Ferrari.
Yes. Pulling into the pits one more time is race day. They will have enough time to go around the track 2 more times with those fresh soft tires that they are going to change into. Do still have some of the drivers out. T-Nell, I don't know if he's a new driver. Is he?
T-Nell is a new driver. I did see in paddock chat folks saying cheers. We can't wait to race against you this week. I don't, however, know the storyline as to whether T-Nell is a permanent driver or a long-term sub. I don't know what's going on here, but very exciting to see a new face on the grid. And it looked like T-Nell knew most of the folks out here. So I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth like I did with Ryan Rod's returning to the grid. And I'm just going to say it's nice to have T-Nell here today.
We're getting an update from Dallas in the YouTube chat saying Cake Thomas dropped down to D2. And so T-Nell is moving up full-time into D1 to replace him. That's where they changed.
Cheers. Cheers. Wonderful. Cake Thomas also celebrating a win of his own Porsche series that ran a 3-week stint through the holidays. So congratulations, Cake Thomas, for patting himself on the back and raising the trophy that he painstakingly built for the winner, which ended up being himself. That was such a funny announcement from Cake Thomas. The winner is at Cake Thomas. Okay, cool. Thanks everyone. We'll see you next time.
Got that cleared up. I love it when you have leagues that are formal enough to have kind of like standardized announcements, but then it's just the guy who's running the league announcing himself. But it was a fun Super 3-week Porsche Super Cup in Gran Turismo 7. And I believe they're starting Season 2 soon. They're going to be showing off some of the schedule, and it will go more than 3 weeks. This was a little holiday prelude.
I only got lapped 3 times at Laguna Seca. I'm proud of that.
That's better than some Formula One drivers.
It was not great. I was up against, the likes of Mitch, Cake Thomas, Valentine, some names that we are very familiar with here in the Formula One league, and I just could not hold a light to these absolute pros. It really humbled me and just made me appreciate their driving even more, especially you, Mitch, an absolute sleeper in the GT series.
It's always funny too with those different levels. I think I was 4th in the season, but a lot of the guys didn't race in the second week because I was 2nd after that, because that was like 2 days before Christmas. So it was a little bit different. But there's obviously that gap, and then I was in the 3 to 6 range in most of the races, and then there was a significant gap to Cake and whoever else was joining him.
Oh, yeah.
Like another 10, 15 seconds behind him when I'd finish a 25-minute race.
Yeah. Cake absolutely crushed that. Hey, the Penguins won 6-5 in Boston. Wow, what a slugfest. We have caution flags in all 3 sectors as drivers look to set their final laps, the majority of the grid, on an outlap right now. But we are on board with race day, trying to set a time to beat Scott Palmer in the Williams. Will he be able to do it? You can see throwing that Ferrari through that section. A little bit of a corner cut there, but that could have just been our camera. We'll have to let it slide.
If there's the shot.
Oh, you can't beat
and a
it.
Ferrari too.
Absolutely cannot beat the tower with the setting sun and the prancing pony coming down the straight.
Speaking of, I am in a Ferrari in my other race league in GT7, so we've already made the jokes about having to pit and not do tires or fuel changes.
Good.
I did that a few times last season, so hopefully that wears off with the Ferrari logo on the car. If not, I'll just put a little sticker on top.
Really psych yourself out there.
I almost saw race day. Don't know if he lost grip or just a little bit of a spike in the internet, but still looking pretty solid. He was 0.4 of a second faster than his record, which would get him up in the pole position, but he is now very off track.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my computer, but I am also real glitchy right now. The checkered flag is flown. We are out of time here in Q1 and only. Drivers wrapping up their final laps, but Scott Palmer still sitting atop with provisional pole, followed by Race Day, Aero Racing, Design, and Scarenzi in the top 4, the first 2 rows.
Did have GTR Edwin. He may have moved up there, up into...
Oh, he sure did.
And then we do have Cali Rob coming around the final corner, and Scarenzi will be soon to follow. Cali Rob jumping up into 5th. Scarenzi maybe next across the line.
Will Scarenzi have enough to move back up?
Hooey.
Hooey. Is it going to be enough? It may not.
No,
that was a little slow.
We got Nikki, aka Johnny Parsons, as the last one that needs the checkered flag, but he is already 2 minutes out on the track and is just coming around the final corner. So I believe this will be our starting grid.
Famous brother of Alan Parsons. No,
really?
No, not at all. I completely made that up. But something that I did not make up is this grid order. Here you go for the Circuit of Americas Week 9 of Formula One MidWest eSports Division 1 action to commence following the final grid on screen here. as the sun sets in Texas. It's going to be a wet race for today's drivers, so buckle up. This could be an absolute one for the highlight reel, or we could be throwing it in the dumpster, but we will only know the answer to that in about an hour's time. From Austin, we will be right back with racing action here on Nick and Mitch. Howdy, y'all, and Happy New Year! 2024 is kicking off with a bang in big, bad Austin, Texas. It's week 9 of Midwest Formula One action, and tonight promises to be an exhilarating showcase of speed, skill, and strategy. Welcome, one and all, to the Circuit of the Americas. The rowdy 3.41-mile track is littered with 20 challenging turns and stands as a true test for any driver. Its diverse layout, inspired by some of the world's most famous tracks, demands versatility and precision at every twist and turn. With growing tension in the mix following a few cheeky maneuvers in Hungary last week, we can expect the action to be wilder than a bucking bronco barreling bodaciously close to a Buc-ee's. Mitch, did you bring a season update to this hoedown?
Of course I did. Well, under the searing Texas sun, the Constructors' Cup standings simmer, tensions boiling like a pot of Lone Star chili. Aston Martin, with the legendary Scarenzi at the wheel, holds the lead at 721 points, but the prancing horse of Ferrari, fueled by last week Cali Rob's podium, snorts hot on their heels. Alpine, the cunning coyotes of the grid, stalk the top at 636 points, while Williams, with their metronomic consistency, hum at 602. Red Bull, unleashed and untamed, roar at 586 points, waiting to unleash the storm. Mercedes yearns for redemption at 547 points, while AlphaTauri, McLaren, Haas, and Alfa Romeo remain locked in a midfield cage fight. Coda, a serpent of straights and viperous turns, will be the ultimate test. Can Scarenzi's legend outshine the Texas sun? Will race day's cunning plan rewrite the script, or will Travis Scott's audacious gamble leave the grid grasping for air?
Get ready, F1 fans, because tonight's race promises to be a Lone Star-sized spectacle of twists, spills, and unexpected melodies. So grab your Stetsons, hoist your stars, and prepare to witness the titans of Formula One clash and legends be born in the heart of Austin. This is Midwest eSports Formula One Division 1 on Nick and Mitch. Yeehaw! It is a wet one in the Lone Star State. There is no one who's going to be outshining this Lone Star-sized sun because it didn't show up itself. This is, this is going to be a hot mess.
Oh, I'm so excited to see. I have not witnessed a wet Coda race yet. So I'm very interested to see how that handles in those sweeping corners that Palmer just got through, but it looks like we had two drivers not make the start already. You can see him just holding on to the edge of that grip, going around the tight corners. If this stays wet for most of the race, it's going to be chaos.
It's going to be a bad time for a lot of people out here. I mean, 19 drivers on the grid today. It's a packed house, folks, and there's no room for anyone really out here. So it's anyone's guess as to what is going to happen today. Predictions can run wild. It's absolutely anybody's game at this point. I'm sure everyone's strategy just went right out of the window, and most of these drivers are in preservation mode.
I think we also got our two strategy suggestions from Amazon Intelligent Services.
Thanks, Jeff.
I think even Ferrari can follow these strategies because you either had wet to wet or wet to wet.
That's pretty easy. You don't need much more
You
math
take all
than
the other tires away and you just
yeah.
shove them in the corner, and if they have the blue stripes, you leave them in the garage.
All right, so question. Could you go wet to wet, or would you start with wet?
I'd maybe start with wet.
Okay.
It's risky.
That's fair. Yeah,
You
it's
know?
fair. I mean, we've seen some of these drivers get away with some bolder strategies than that one, but we'll see. We'll see who can make it work today. It's racing action here in Coda. We'll see what happens in just a few moments' time. The drivers finding their starting stalls as these horses are ready to run.
And there goes the Haas, Scavney up into his position 17. Houdini's going to pull into 19. And we do have the grid set, so we are just waiting for those lights.
And it looks like that is the start. Weird camera angle without a view of the tree, but we are racing. Week 9 is underway from Austin, Texas in the rain. The Williams and the Ferrari get close, but there is no contact from the front runners through turn 1 as we enter the, what are we going to call this? Just the serpentine?
It's the squirrely bit.
It's the squirrely bit.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone coming through, keep this camera angle. Everyone looks to get through clean. That is really all I am looking for right now. Travis Scott's and Bacon, a bit of a jab down below, along with Callie Robin, Aero Racing in the middle of the pack, trading spots. But it is still Gott Palmer, Race Day, and Scorenzi in the top 3. And Gott Palmer and Race Day had a wonderful start, almost even, completely even off the gate.
This gives you a good look at what the drivers are dealing with right now. Blurry spots on the camera, just the spray coming up off of all the cars. And it's a little bit foggy and cloudy. Hard to see what's going on at the end of these straights. So if there's an accident, you might not see it until it's a little too late.
This is where years, weeks, whatever of training come into place. Memorization of these tracks is crucial, especially when you're racing in this high of a caliber league. And especially in these sketchy conditions, you just need to know where that car needs to be at all times.
You really want to be careful on these ones too. Dipping those tires onto the curbs may be the end of your race, when normally it's the recommended thing to do, at least in most of the corners. Keep 2 of the 4 wheels in, but here a little bit more risky. I'm sorry, the Amazon strategy said wet to wet or wet to wet to wet.
Yeah, that one makes a little more sense to me.
Now, I don't know if certain cars' wet tires don't wear out nearly as fast, so I don't know if it justifies a 3 stop. We do have a caution. Looks like Gunner in the McLaren spun out, but everything is okay, at least for everyone else, and it looks like he will continue on.
I don't have a magic ball. I don't have a crystal ball over here, but I can assume that McLaren will have an opportunity to catch back up to the pack eventually, if something is to happen. Thank you, Pork Chops, saying the squirrely bit is called the S's. We're going to keep it squirrely bits here on the channel, though, because we're trying to brand some merchandise here for season 12. We'll see.
Squirrely bit, that's all you need, right?
Squirrely bits. It's the squirrely bit.
What was the one we called last week? That's something else.
I have no idea. I was still recovering from the holidays last week, so. I cannot remember for the life of me.
As we had Sui in the Alfa Romeo starting to make a challenge on VTEC and Mercedes. Tricky thing about this race, we will not have DRS if it rains the entire time, so you won't be getting the benefit of that drag reduction system on the car. So you're just going to have to do it and be bold, and we can see Tino rocking the car back and forth, able to keep it straight.
Yeah, not sure if he dipped a little too close to Aero Racing Design, whether that was a correction or a collision. But thankfully, the Alfa Romeo was able to stay upright and straight on track Race Day now setting the fastest lap over Got Palmer's existing time. It's sitting at a 1:53 right now, almost 20 seconds slower, just about 20 seconds slower than what we saw during the dry session of qualifying.
A lot slower. We see Scarenzi closing in quickly on Got Palmer. Got the squirrely bits. He's going to try to go. It looks like T-Nell in the Alfa Romeo might have some trouble. He is in the grass and doing some nice burnouts, partially from the slick grass and partially from, well, all of the rain that's being dumped here in Texas.
Yeah, if you forget your ice skates, it's best to avoid the grass. I know it doesn't snow too much in Austin, but that stuff is slick tonight.
Scarenzi did get past Got Palmer while we were watching T-Nell spin around there, so he is up into second. He's a second and a half back on race day currently. We have another caution. Looks like T-Nell once again into the wall, but that car still together.
Surprisingly, from what we can see, there may be some damage to the body underneath. Only time will tell whether or not T-Nell dips into the pits to fix something now, or just had a bad snap of a bad go of it there. I know from experience that once you start slipping up in the rain, it becomes a mental challenge as well. It's like a goalie in hockey. You just have to push it aside and recenter yourself. Something that the front runners, race day, Scarenzi, Got Palmer, we've seen all of those guys correct it and get back into the zone. But it's easier said than done. A lot of this is a mental game, especially when you're dealing with the challenge of a wet track.
Yeah, it is so tough. And if you damage a little bit of the car somewhere, that can ruin a race in the rain. It will ruin most races because the car is going to start handling differently. But if it changes in the wet, you have almost no time to catch that once it starts to slide.
On board now with Callie Robb through the squirrely bits. We have another caution in Sector 1, but it's not going to affect Callie Robb moving through there. It is Mr. Parsons back there in the Alpine in 17th place. Just a little bit of a slip. Again, I would rather see these cars slip and move back through the grid than have an entire bowling alley of cars because, one person lost it in a train. So, I don't know. Lesser of two evils, I suppose.
Yeah, so far it's not bad, although we do have another one. It looks like it might be T-Nell in the Alfa Romeo. If you slide out, at least you're not usually sliding off the track because you're doing it at a point where you can't make the corner. Whereas a lot of the other safety cars you have are accidents when cars either cut a corner too tight and hit someone else, or they just collide almost at full speed. So a lot of these accidents are more so cars just spinning and getting far enough off track that it doesn't mess up anyone else's line.
Thankfully, most of the corners here in Austin do have a very wide runoff, so body damage on the cars is kept to a minimum. They know what they did when they built this track. They knew how difficult they were making it. We did see Houdini move past Travis Scott's in the back grid. VTEC now moving past Sui, the Alfa Romeo, in the middle of the pack. That Mercedes now running in 11th.
Sui is right on his heels, though, as they head across the finish line. And he will still get a nice little slipstream. And looks like VTEC's going to go back and forth, put on a little bit of a defense.
Yeah, that's dangerous with the weather and with the track conditions, but also smart. It's a big gamble for sure.
Well, I tried to do that yesterday when we were racing. I tried to whip around the outside of you before we got to Eau Rouge and went right into the grass, the tires, because that track is so narrow. That didn't work out too well for me.
Yeah, I think
this one has a lot of pavement outside of the racing line, which is nice. It's forgiving.
Yeah, you were kissing the walls pretty often there yesterday at Spa, but we do have some of the backpack deciding to pit now. The Alpine of Nikki, along with Gunner, were in the pits, and unfortunately, it looks like T-Nell will be unable to recover the Alfa Romeo due to damage sustained during a couple of those spinouts. Teenale's Alpha is out for today's race. That's unfortunate for his re-entry to Division 1 here tonight.
Do you have Bagan trying to make a move on Cynical as we go through these corners? We might be trying to hold up because we have a caution flag, and passing sometimes be not problematic, but you don't want to catch a penalty for passing under a caution flag.
Restraint is the name of the game there.
You know, some of these guys will be hoping for one at some point too, though, just to close this pack a little bit more. You have Nikki and Gunner like 20 seconds behind the cars in front of them. Well, Nikki's 20 seconds behind and Gunner's 20 seconds behind. So nice little safety car would do that. We also have some of the leaders pitting, but Scarenzi says he left the session.
Yeah, he may have disconnected. This may be an auto drive. We'll see if he's able to get back to racing here tonight. That would be unfortunate if he lost connection. Ellie, can you let us know? Is that intentional? What's going on? Is he screaming in the other room? We have a lot of drivers leaving the session. This is either a glitch or we will have another lobby issue. I feel like this happened one of the last times we have last time we had rain. I feel like we had another session disconnect. Now looking into the paddock chat, Scarenzi saying, is everyone out? Aero Racing saying, yep, I was kicked. And Cali Rob saying same. So we may have a lobby connection issue. We will hold on to hear from the league as to what will be done to fix this and get today's race back on schedule. But by the looks of that, with GSR Edwin now into the walls.
Those eyes, man. Those eyes have seen too much.
He's completely done. I just want to go home. I want to go.
Did you see the other car just zip by on the left-hand side of the screen into the wall?
This is pandemonium. Drivers just deciding to meditate as they take a really, really cold, sad shower in the cockpit of their car.
These other ones, there we go.
Oh, okay. So here's an update from the league itself. I don't know what just happened there in the Haas, but apparently this is a game issue, not just a server issue, as my computer is also glitching out right now. Apparently Division 2 has also died. There may be a larger issue than just restarting the lobby.
Yeah, I accidentally clicked away for a second there to the black screen and realized that we don't have mics.
Yeah,
so yeah, it seems like it might be a whole game, at least 2 divisions, but let's check. 3. Yeah, Division 3 disconnect. Wait.
Now, enough of the race was not ran to just call this race as is. We were under 10 laps into a 28-lap race. Therefore, if we are able to get the game back up and running in a timely manner, we will do so and resume racing action here in Texas. But, hopefully we are avoiding the worst with a complete server crash here tonight. I know we're expecting some storms on the East Coast this upcoming weekend. I'm not sure what's going on in the Midwest or wherever the host is right now, if this is weather related or what, but we'll see what happens. Again, sorry that we do not have cameras on tonight. I'm running from a rather janky setup that is not 100%. And throwing cameras on top of everything is just, it's not going to be the move tonight.
Yeah, at this point, it's going to be a little technical to set up and get all these cameras positioned. We need our pictures behind these, so when our cameras aren't on, then those pop up as well. That'll be something for the future.
Yeah, something for not right now. I never realized that my N in your M are also in the border boxes of this screen. Yeah, right? Just say that you did that on purpose. Say that you did that on purpose.
Well, I was going to say the amount of things that we do, videos we make or graphics that we do something and then we realize that it also lines up perfectly. It almost leads to it being something subconscious when we create it. Does that make sense? Like it's...
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, something we just do so much and then we think about it a lot that you just do it innately.
Yeah, that happened the other day at work. I was doing something audio, computer technical related, whatever, with Streamlabs or OBS. And one of my coworkers was sitting there watching me as I'm listening to music, holding a conversation, singing along, drumming with my feet, and I'm setting all of this up. And they were like cross-eyed looking at what I was doing on my screen. It becomes second nature after a while, especially whenever you build all of it yourself. You know this thing inside and out. So it's just like looking at the back of your hand, I guess.
Seeing a lot of the drivers say that hasn't always, or never really seen them all drop at the same time. Like this one did. We are getting invites back from Coleslaw. They are sending them out. So we'll see if we can get this race restarted.
This is going to be an absolute nightmare to reshuffle this grid. Hopefully someone can hop back in time and get everything.
It is going off of the quali results. I just got word. Based on the rules and how much of the race we did, it's a complete restart.
Oh, wow. So we're starting from lap 1. We do have T-Nell saying, count me out. So it looks like T-Nell will not be returning to today's race. It's bedtime. I don't blame him. You and I both poured coffees before today's race. I've been trying to put that off for forever because drinking coffee at 9 p.m. on a school night seems very, very wrong. Seems like blasphemy, but the way that I've kind of crawled to the end of these streams in the last couple of weeks, I think it was well-deserved and the right move, even if it, sacrifices 30, 40 minutes of sleep in the long run.
That's fine. You'd be up anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
You got liveries to design after this.
Oh, God. We jumping in?
I might be.
I'll see if
started a little bit.
I'll see if the wifey is asleep, and if she is, I might join you.
We'll see. One problem so far with the Ferrari Italia GR3 13, I think I got that right.
Yep.
Is that it has this like R2D2 type disc on the top of the car that if I do the original width of our stripe, it's like splitting that 3/4 of the way, so I had to make the stripe wider.
I see.
Design
that
issues.
Could work. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what we can do. I think I might have some strategies, but it would require us putting a Panther on the top in that circle. No. Yeah, I know. But you could just overlay it in a circle on top of the stripe. Kind of hide the crimes. We'll see. We'll see. Yep, we sure will. You could also just put a circle with the 22 on top of the car to hide all of that as well. That might not be bad. Yeah. But
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So don't do the depth. Because I had the stripe was going up and over this little bump, but if I keep the depth flat, then it won't go up on the thing at all. And then I can make the circle something different. Hopefully.
We'll see.
Got it.
We're talking livery designs in Gran Turismo GT7 here for Mitch's GT3 League. Yeah, maybe we'll post those. Maybe we'll be able to show a picture in an upcoming pre-show before quali if we jump in, in an upcoming week. It would be worth it. I think this one's going to be absolutely gorgeous.
Excuse me. There's the yacht already. It's one of the best parts.
I know. It really is.
You just design whatever you want on the car.
Yeah, I got my dad set up with GT7 for Christmas. And he is, enjoying racing, but then I told him that you can edit your cars fully. You can edit your livery or your suits. And he's really falling down that rabbit hole as well. He's enjoying his time in there. Looks like we have a red flag start, meaning you can repair the car and change. Wait a minute. Am I just reading? for no reason.
I think they were saying since this race was essentially red flagged, cars that were damaged can be worked on.
I see.
I think. And now they're just trying to make sure that the weather is also, we set it to what? Inter. So it could be a wet inter race is what they were designing it for.
Interesting. That'll make for a little more exciting racing down the line here towards the end of today's race. Throwing a little more strategy at the grid. It won't switch it to dry. It will just change the switch over time. That's how it worked last time. All right, cool. Looks like we should be loading up into a lobby here pretty soon. Thanks for bearing with us as we endure the servers, the wonderful servers of Electronic Arts.
I have to turn the heat down in this office if I'm in here for an extra 30 minutes.
You roasty toasty, roasting them chestnuts down there.
Getting a little bit there, and I can usually make it just through the end of the race.
Jeez.
But this one's being reset. Looks like we're getting...
Push your body up against the exterior facing cinder blocks. Feel that 30-degree.
That's a big difference at the wall compared to the space heater next to me.
Oh, yeah.
Want to start the fun safety car thing I found? It might not be that fun, but it's something to talk about.
Oh, I think it's perfect time for a safety car PSA.
We can make it a bit of a game since we have time too.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I asked Google Bard, our favorite AI,
yes, our producer.
Yes, to assign races and classes of Dungeons and Dragons characters to real Formula One drivers.
Oh God.
So maybe I'll read the description and then you have to guess the driver.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Everyone can play along in the comments as well.
I might have to cut some parts of these because they are a little thing.
It looks like we're also getting ready to ready up, so just keep an eye on your system. But yes, please, let's get through one.
Okay. The first one, I'm going to switch over to this view too, so I don't forget. The first one, a charismatic tiefling bard with the College of Valor subclass. His mastery of speed and precision mirrors the bard's control over music and magic, while his fierce advocacy for social justice aligns with the Valor Bard's inspiring leadership.
That's Seb.
No, it's current drivers.
Oh, okay, Lewis.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Cool. A daring dragonborn barbarian with the Path of the Zealot subclass. His fearless overtaking maneuvers and relentless pursuit of victory echo the barbarian's raw power and unwavering conviction.
I'm just gonna go with Max.
Yep.
Has to be.
Yep.
2 for 2. Let's go. 2.
Let's see. Do they do how much longer? We can do one more because I think they usually wait for everyone to sync up.
For sure.
Final one for now. A cunning elf rogue with the arcane trickster subclass. His lightning-fast reflexes and strategic race planning translate seamlessly to the rogue's agility and illusion magic, while his background adds a touch of elven mystique.
Oh. All right, this one is hard. Because this one doesn't give any, discerning qualities.
Fast reflexes, strategic race planning, and...
Is it Charles?
Yeah, it is. What was it? What told that for you? That, or was it the Elven Mystique?
I'm seeing the Elven Mystique now that I hear that it was Charles. But no, it was the strategy.
Okay, I haven't watched as much, so I didn't know how much he was known for his strategy.
Well, he had the big brain move later in the season in one of the last races, right? That's kind of what I was going off of.
this season that I remember. Yeah. I just didn't know if that was like a long-term thing.
A very clever driver who has just had terrible chances with luck.
That's what I know. Like Ferrari in general does that.
Yeah, but I mean, he is definitely up there. Like if he was matched with Max and Red Bull, it would be insane.
I do find it's so wild that all I asked it was to decide what kind of racing class each Formula One driver would be in Dungeons and Dragons, and it kind of picked the right qualities.
It really did.
That match with things from like those racing class backgrounds and features that they have, and like it did a good job.
Right. Yeah. This AI stuff is just it really is. It's super impressive. Looks like VTech might have forgotten to load his setup. We've seen this before with restarts, and it's always unfortunate, especially in a wet race like this where you need all the help you can get. To be starting out on the wrong foot is never where you want to be. We are going to take another formation lap as this is the official Grand shuffle of the Austin Grand Prix.
Don't worry, only 28 more laps to go. Was it even 28 at the start?
It was.
Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't remember if it was 28 or 38.
Buckle up. It's going to be a late night here. Sorry, bosses and coworkers that need me to be awake tomorrow. It might not happen. We're going to get through this. Right,
they all know that we do commentary at this point.
They really do. Most of them watch. 7 viewers right now. I have a very small company.
What was that?
I said we only have 7 viewers right now. It's a very small company. They all watch.
All of them. Sorry, I had my girlfriend's class of kids asking what my YouTube channel was. She's like, "Nope, you're not getting that."
Oh, I've been down that. That road before.
Been down that when I was a tour guide too, and people ask for it.
Oh yeah. Now it was a big dose of reality when the middle schoolers asked, what's his YouTube channel, and then they asked what games does he play, and she said Fortnite, and they were all clowning me because they're like, Fortnite's an old person game now. It's for old people. Oh my god, I can't believe he's still playing Fortnite. All right, relax. It was during the pandemic when that's all that we could do.
Are we going to reach a point where Fortnite becomes an old person game? Or does it have enough to truly like capture the age range for its eternity?
I don't know. That's, because it goes through those phases where like it'll do 2 seasons off and then 1 banger season. And then all the kids come back for 1 banger season, and then it's back to the old people for like the next 2 or 3. We'll see. Only time will tell. Hey, what's up, Spaceman? Thanks for joining the restart of the Austin Grand Prix here from Circuit of Americas in Austin, Texas. It is going to be a rainy day in the Lone Star State with a Williams, Ferrari, Alpine, and Mercedes starting in the first 2 lines of the grid. Lights are on. We are ready to go racing, and we are away in the restart of the Austin Grand Prix. Scott Palmer is away on the outside, heading up into the left of turn 1. Will he be able to get by the Ferrari cleanly? He will. Almost an entire car length in front of Race Day, heading now into turn 2 as we head into the S's, the swirly bits here on Nick and Mitch. 4 consecutive whoop-de-whoops, and all of the cars. We do have a spin in the first corner there. Turn 3 of the track. It is the AlphaTauri of Travis Scott filling in for Ryan Rods this week for the Racing Bulls. That is unfortunate for the fill-in. But Travi may have an opportunity to rejoin the pack later on in today's race if the weather keeps up and predicaments continue to compound.
Well, we probably saw 6 to 10 spins in the first 10 laps that we got through in the original race. Now, none of them are really collisions between drivers. Most of them just going off or losing a little too much grip as they reach the corner. So just spins that they could recover from. We did have T-Nell dropping out of that one and deciding not to return. Looks like Scavney or Gunner. Oh, they are all good. Just a lot of passing right now.
Yeah, that was a huge overtake opportunity. Also, Scarenzi getting by Callie Robb up in the top 5. That middle of the pack just did a complete turn on its head there. Not sure what happened. The pack is still super tight, and it's what you want to see, especially when we will not be enjoying DRS here throughout this race. You're going to want to stay as close as possible. Yeah, the air is dirty, but it's your best chance at overtaking and seeing any kind of movement here on the grid. Got Palmer setting the fastest lap in lap 1 with a 1:55. That is 2 seconds slower than the fastest lap in the first start of today's race. But you can only predict that will get faster as today goes on. Bacon falling a bit in the middle of the grid, but able to hold himself in 11th place as he pushes Electric Blade back into 12th.
And so far off of the start, we have some minor moves from the drivers, but we do have Electric Blade dropping down from 9th to 12th, and that allowed Bacon, Nikki, and Sui to move up 2, 3, and 4 spots on the grid, and it looks like Electric Blade once again dropping down just a little bit more. Who was the one who said that their load up didn't lose? That was VTech.
VTech.
Who's now down in 12th.
Did see a bit of fishtailing there from Aero Racing Design. Looks like he's really fighting to keep that Alpine on track. Electric Blade has left the session, and unfortunately, that is due to an incident. The Haas will not be returning to today's race, and we are under a virtual safety car, which means as the drivers reform the pack and kind of close all of these gaps, giving Travis Scott some time to catch back up to his buddies in the back of the pack here. I believe it's time to resume our F1 D&D fest. Do you have more, or were those the only 3 that Bart gave it?
What was that?
You have more safety car?
Yes, I do actually.
Hey.
I was also asking it to do something else, but
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I was like, did I lose Mitch?
No, I laughed because I asked it to write an SNL sketch of these drivers playing D&D, and the intro was Lewis trying to ask them what their plan was, and Max the Barbarian was just chewing on a drumstick saying, "Cave, cave good, smash goblins, take treasure, no singing." Thankfully, the virtual safety cars are quick, so we are back to racing action, and we can move away from that nonsense.
Hey,
Next time, I will have another trivia for you. We do have Electric Blade leaving the session now.
Yes, and Electric Blade is in paddock chat calling out VTech. There may have been an incident between those 2 drivers causing the DNF of Electric Blade, saying, "Thanks, VTech. This isn't NASCAR. You don't block me to the wall." So there may have been a bit of unfair defense from VTech. I assume that we can expect Electric Blade to submit a report to the stewards, so we may be seeing some action after today's race has concluded, but that is unfortunate for the Haas, as he will be unable to return to today's contest. It's all up to Scavney now to try and climb up into those top 10 to get as many points as he can grab with his 4 wheels.
It's been a tough one for Haas so far. They are down in 9th in the championship, but they were in 10th when we were finished with Abu Dhabi, so after week 4, and then they moved up above Alfa Romeo. But there hasn't really been much movement in that 6 through 10 spot, even 5 if you want to include Red Bull recently. I actually had to go back 3 weeks, I think, to have a team actually change position in the Constructors' Cup.
Wow.
And some of the points are close. It's just not shifting.
That is very peculiar. I mean, these drivers have found their stride, I guess. Looks like Nikki is in the pits. Alpine taking an early out. Hopefully, no significant damage there. Just an early tire change. Although I don't know why he would need to change the wets this early in the race. So
I believe he did spin earlier. I think he was the first caution that was out there, so there might be something a little bit up with those tires, or maybe one of the wings.
yeah, that would do it.
I thought his wing looked goofy, but it had both sides still on it.
A look at this line here. Gott Palmer just leading the parade, followed by Race Day, GSR Edwin, Scarenzi, Cali Robb, Aero Racing Design, and Cynical. All of these drivers playing it very, very close to one another. And someone has gone wide. That someone is Cali Robb in the Ferrari, allowing Aero Racing to get by. And Scarenzi and GSR Edwin going after it now through the corners. It's GSR Edwin. It's Scarenzi. Scarenzi's going to take the inside line. Will GSR Edwin? Oh, these two are neck and neck. It's Scarenzi able to make it out clean. He is in third place here in lap 4. Some very intense swapping with the Mercedes of GSR Edwin.
You had Cali Robb and Aero Racing Design swapping spots while all of that commotion went on too. Aero Racing is now up into 6th, but he's looking to make the pass past Cali Robb in the Ferrari.
We'll see. It is all a waiting game here. Will he be able to do it on this straight? He will not. I don't know if it's worth it. He may be able to get him through the corners here if he's able to keep this line tidy. Cali Robb able to get that car sparking. Even in the midst of a rainstorm, somehow the Ferrari has spark plates. Aero Racing, little squirrely through the squirrely bits. That's where they get their name.
Especially with the sweat, you can see the wheel just snapping back and forth, trying to catch a little bit of a slide.
Oh, yeah. Did I send you that Instagram Reels earlier today where it was a guy driving a Formula car? I believe it was maybe Formula 4. And it was like, the rain can't steer your car if you steer your car before the rain. It's something like that. Like, you can't lose control if you intentionally lose control before the car does it.
Yeah,
I just correcting for oversteer and hydroplaning before it even happened. We have a McLaren of Gunner spinning out in the backfield, but it's going to be all right. He's going to be passed by the recently pitted Nicky. Gunner may have sustained some damage. We'll have to see if he jumps into the pit here, but Nicky really putting the jets on, getting away from the McLaren, now in 16th, with only the AlphaTauri to go significantly behind him now.
What you were mentioning does hold up with being in control of the slide or losing the car. Drivers who can set the absolute fastest times will be on the limit of traction the entire time. And one of the things that I've seen taught for drivers in corners is to take a corner until you can intentionally lose the corner, like every time, because then you know exactly where you can get the car to at the edge. And if it's slide, like, if I push a little more, it's going to break, but I know how the car is going to break. Corners that you don't do that, and then you're silly like me and accidentally downshift and all of a sudden lose the car, you're in the wall because you don't know how to correct it at that point.
Right. Now, it's definitely a fickle beast once you get to these kind of speeds and this kind of precision. We did have Scarenzi set a new fastest lap. That was a 1:53 and some change. And some of the midfield decided to dip into the pits for some quick changes. Now, the pit window does not open for another 3 laps or so, was the Bezos estimate here. So we'll have to see if that strategy plays off. I don't believe there was a strategy that led them into the pits before lap 9 through 15 or so. Scarenzi now in second place, past Gott Palmer. Race Day in first.
Could always be going for an undercut too at this point if you just want to get a bit of distance on the pack so you can get into open track and race yourself. There's been a couple times in turn one where Edwin or Cali Rob kind of gets stopped up by Got Palmer because he's waiting for him to take off out of the corner. So Cali Rob can't take it as fast as he wants to, and then Edwin's closing some of that gap.
Very fair. We'll see if those strategies play off for them. As our fastest qualifier, Got Palmer, now sitting in third place. I kind of zoned out there talking about memes, and I missed the double overtake on the Williams. We have a caution in Sector 3. Still not sure who that might be. I don't see too many dots paused, but it may have been VTech Gunner or Travis Scott. One of those three may have slid. That's not going to matter. It has been waved off. All cars are fine. We're in lap 7 of 28 here in Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas in week 9 of racing. Season 11, Midwest eSports, Formula One, Division 1 on Nick and Mitch. See most of the pack still on the wets, and there you go. That was the call. The initial race before the lobby break and restart was going to be a full wet race. However, the restart has brought some better conditions, and we were expecting a wet to inters forecast here. So that early pit stop was some of those drivers you see back in the pack from 11th down to 17th, deciding to switch to inters now in order to predict and get a jump on the rain. As you see race day squirreling out just a little bit of under or oversteer through that corner. We'll see if that strategy plays out for the back of the pack. Switching to the inters, the less grip in the heavier rain. We just saw a slide from someone as you were shifting down through the pack. Everyone is all over the place right now. It's a slip and slide here in the Lone Star State.
I wanted to check out what the inter drivers are up to right now. As you said, it's a bit less grip and full wet. The rain has lightened up significantly, I would say, on the screen. But there could still be issues of certain spots on the track, like the curbs or where the water tends to pool, being a lot more dangerous than some of the other spots. So the wet tire drivers may not have problems going in those areas, but inters might. And that can be an impact when you go to pass someone. If you have to go off of the driving line, those tires might not hold up. We did just see the fastest lap, however, be set by an inter driver.
Yeah, that was WS Bacon in the Red Bull, and that was a 1:5.18. Wow, absolutely flying. That is the fastest lap that we have seen in contest here tonight, both from the first race and now the second race. WS Bacon absolutely flying on those green inter tires. It may be a challenge for some, but apparently this is WS Bacon's bread and butter.
You can see he's catching up to Fireballer, who is in the wet tires now. He was looking for the pass, and he might just be able to cut him off.
He's got it.
But Fireballer's got it right back, rocketing out of this start. And I think he might be able to hold it now. It looks like Sharia Coleslaw is going to try and go on the inside. Goes back to the outside. We will see none of the action from that angle, so let's jump over here.
Sharia Coleslaw is definitely through. Will Bacon be able to double team the Williams here for command of 10th place? Got a Williams sandwich here. Bacon trying to go to the inside, now the outside. Will he be able to maintain grip and get by the Williams? It's going to be close, and Bacon gets him through the corner, taking the outside lane, getting by the Williams up into 10th place. And up top, we have Scarenzi in the lead, and Race Day and Got Palmer fighting. Now it is, well, everyone's in the pits, so this is a race for the pits. Hi, welcome. I'm Nick. Sometimes I have a hard time reading what's on the screen.
Nice to meet you, Nick. We'll see if the undercut of the inter tires worked out. Sharia Coleslaw and Bacon were the two that were there first, but it looks like our pack was able to get out unscathed and remain up in the lead. We do have Race Day and Cali Rob, the two Ferraris. Have they stopped yet? They did. So now we have the two Ferraris in the 1-2, Scarenzi in third, Arrow in fourth, got Palmer in fifth. All of our drivers on intermediate tires, except VTech, but that might change by the time he leaves the pit.
How nice is it to see two Ferraris ripping down the straight here in Texas? It doesn't get much better than that. I guess the only improvement that we could have here right now in terms of the views and the vibes would be a nice sunny day. But nonetheless, we have two Ferraris atop the grid, followed by Scarenzi, Aero Racing Design, and Gott Palmer, who are not far behind and are not too keen to let these two Ferraris just run away with this victory. We are not even halfway through today's race. We have just 19 laps remaining here in Texas. Plenty of time left for some shake and bake action, for something to happen here to change up the current standing.
We do have Gott Palmer, who was in pole position down in fifth. Race Day moved up. Cali Rob and Scarenzi both moved up 3, and then Bacon going from 15th to 7th to catch up to his teammate, and Houdini in the McLaren jumping up from 18th to 10th, or 17th to 10th.
Wow. I mean, amazing climbs by both of those drivers. Cali Rob setting a 150 fastest lap. Holy, these boys are cooking now. Tell you what.
I wonder if these two are working together on team orders and just not attacking. They've been holding this 0.6 of a second gap for 1 to 2 laps. And I think Cali Rob staying in this position right now can fend off Scarenzi for quite a while and protect Race Day up in the front.
Hey, this is classic like go-kart racing right now. You know, there's no DRS. There's no, I mean, of course, they do have their electric boost that they can store up and deploy themselves. But on top of that, you don't have any predictable assistance through this race. So you can really go back to like some backyard ball, play with your teammate there, and make sure that you two can fend off the rest of the pack. They're going to try and hold Scarenzi as long as they can, but if history has proven anything, it's that Scarenzi can be unfazed when it comes to wet races. He can be just even a little bit scarier when the conditions are less than ideal.
It can be. Now, it might also be a good thing to separate Scarenzi and Race Day after last week. I believe they've had some stuff happen in the past as well, so leaving the frenemies away from each other for right now. And Scarenzi also has to watch his own back because Aero Racing Design has been holding within a second behind him. So if he starts to get a little tactical and waiting for a moment to pounce, he might have to fight Aero Racing off.
Yeah, those two drivers, Race Day and Scarenzi, are animated. Their friendship is spirited, to say the least. Race Day setting a fastest lap and Scarenzi saying, yoink, I'll take that. Thank you very much. Didn't even let him get a lap to enjoy that purple posting. But just, you know, perfectly on cue. Those two going back and forth. It's all jawing, it's all fun, but I do understand in the heat of the moment, it's race time, and you do have to be serious. These two definitely are, and they definitely know where to draw that line as well. You know, it stops once the flag waves or once the steward lays down the law. At least I'd like to hope so.
And you can see a bit of Scarenzi challenging Cali Rob. We got down to 0.2 of a second throughout the S's, and very tricky place to make a pass, so he wasn't going for it. But now there is a 2-second gap between the two Ferraris, so that is pushing Scarenzi even further away from the lead. But he's going to have an opportunity soon to strike at Cali Rob, and he almost goes for it there. He's going to try to dive onto the inside, take the outside through the next corner. He's going to have a slightly better exit coming out of here. But when it's rainy, even though this track's wide, it's not the most room to pass a car.
No, not at all. I mean, you saw how difficult it was for Bacon to get by Cynical, who ironically just traded spots with him yet again. or I apologize, Bacon passed Fireballer. Um, yeah, there is not a lot of room. You really have to just rip it and rip it. You have to pick your line and stick to it. Um, any kind of minor correction is going to result in spinning like a top. Race Day doing the exact opposite. He is straight as an arrow right now with a 1:48, a new fastest lap, just shaving off time. You can see how dry this track is getting. I mean, I know it doesn't look it, but just based on the fastest laps alone in these intervals, it is no shocker, that this track is slowly starting to dry off. This is now a fight between Sharia Coleslaw and GSR Edwin for 6th place as they go through the squirrely bits. GSR Edwin's going to go a bit wide. Coleslaw is going to go a bit wide. Both drivers make it out rather unscathed, and they will live to fight another day. That was scary.
That was one of the most beautiful shots we've seen so far out of the broadcast. The sweeping S's, the helicopter, and Edwin and Sharia Coleslaw, they handled it very well. They did bump into each other, but I don't think it was either of the drivers' fault. It's just the way those S's flow. You're going to get close, and they bounced off of each other relatively fine. They were wheel to wheel that entire section.
They absolutely were, and that kind of reminded me of a couple times where you and I have raced in France together. I never want to be on the paint. You never want to be outside of track limits on that paint, especially if there's any sort of condensation. If it's even thinking, if the clouds are even thinking about raining later in the day, even after the race, that paint is going to be as slick as ice. So that was really scary there through turn 3, 2 and 3 of the S's, where GSR Edwin and then Sharia went wide. But yeah, just phenomenal driving by the two of them. Race Day setting yet another fastest lap, shaving them off as we go.
I think it is going to, they say it's going to stay wet the entire time, where then we'll switch onto softs. Otherwise, it would get very interesting here. Looks like Bacon, who we were riding along, just got a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That final corner, very challenging to keep all of the wheels inside the line. Reminds me of the last corner of the Red Bull Ring. Just the way it's shaped and the speed that you can carry if you do it right entices you to do it, but it's not the safest thing to do if you're worried about penalties. Now, if every driver does it, like we saw at Red Bull, and every driver has penalties, it's not a big issue.
Yeah, moot point at that point. But yeah, definitely high risk, high reward. This track was designed a bit later than most of the icons over in Europe, so they were able to play off of what they know works and the challenges that have proven themselves time and time again. So definitely this track, you can see the inspiration from all of the iconic tracks that we have enjoyed through the decades. They've just made one heck of a Swiss Army knife here in the Big South. Is that what I called it earlier?
The Big South.
The Big South.
I think you were looking for the Big South or Deep South, and you call it the Big South.
I was looking for Deep South, and then for some reason I thought the Big Easy, but that's New Orleans. So I just went with Big South, and that's what I came up with.
We'll take it. Oh! Little loss of the wheel from Aero Racing Design, but he's able to steady that car down. Keep it on track. Scarenzi also pushing on Cali Robb and getting into second longest straight on the course, which is not quite enough room for him to make the pass, but we'll be shifting into the S's once again.
Aero Racing has been squirrely through this entire race. I mean, even before the restart, we've seen him just battling with this car. It seems like he just cannot catch a break. You said the best drivers are riding on the edge of traction at all times. I think Aero Racing might be the best darn driver out here, because there hasn't been a clip that I have seen that Alpine today that it hasn't been, fishtailing just a little bit, just shaking that tail just a wee little bit through these corners.
Looks good, though. It gets your heart going.
Oh, of course, every single time. Just like right now, Scarenzi pushing up on the tail of Cali Robb, just 2/10 behind as we head into the halfway point, lap 14 of the Austin Grand Prix. here in Circuit of the Americas. Scarenzi's going to try and take him on the outside. He does for now. Will Cali Rob be able to counter? He does. We are entered into the dance. It's Scarenzi yet again. Cali Rob forced to the outside, able to keep that car in. Bit of a snap there, but he is going to maintain pace with the Aston Martin, although the head-to-head battle is definitively, it's over, and the Aston Martin is definitively in second place. There's the words I was looking for. What a transaction between these two drivers. That was exciting.
It is sometimes like watching a shark when you throw chum into the water and it just circles and circles and is always, just far enough away that you can't quite see it, and then just barrels in, takes the food, rips it, and leaves.
And on that lap, Scarenzi sets a new fastest. 2/10 faster, and 2/10 faster than him is GSR Edwin. These guys are absolutely flying. I can't stop saying it. It's phenomenal to see these laps getting faster and faster the further we get into this race. It's going to sound weird, but certain angles that we're getting from these cameras with the reflections on the track, all of it, a little bit of mist, like maybe some humidity. It really, I feel like I can smell the rain, on screen right now. It's that nice summer rain, that warm August kind of rain. You know what I mean? The ground kind of
exactly what you mean.
Kind of steam. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Get that grass and the dirt that hasn't been wet in a while.
Yes. Yeah, everything's being rehydrated. And it just smells like life. That's I'm watching the screen and I'm like, you can hear me breathing into the mic over here, trying to get a good whiff of that rain.
Now have the other Aston Martin of Cynical trying to overtake Sharia Coleslaw, and they're going to go nice and close. And it looks like Cynical will take the lead for now, but Sharia is going to have the inside of this next corner, and it is a sweeping one. So again, going wheel to wheel, light little taps on the front of the nose, little Eskimo kisses.
Of course. And I believe Sharia just set the fastest lap. Whoever it was just broke the 147 barrier, the 147.9. That was VTEC. My apologies. The Mercedes was able to get us below the 147 mark here today. First time we've seen it since qualifying. That's the closest we've gotten to the dry laps.
Looks like he did stop for fresh inters just 2 laps ago, so he is on the best set of tires for that cause, and he is only 3/100ths of a second faster than race day. So imagine once these guys get their final sets of inter tires on, we'll see these times tick down even more. Scarenzi's now over half a second behind race day on a fastest lap.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole different race once these guys get a hold of some brand new tires on this recently dried, deliciously smelling track. Oh, there's a little bit of a slide there from Sharia, just a bit, just enough to give Cynical a little more of a buffer. After that transaction, I'm sure he is thankful for every 10th of a second that he can gain on the Red Bull duo right behind him in his mirror.
Guess what? It's the halfway point where I start to fall asleep to the sounds of an F1 car going around the track.
Yeah, it's a good, we don't have commercial breaks or anybody else to throw it to, so it's good just to soak up the car noise every once in a while.
Hey, trust me, every time I set up the live stream, YouTube's like, by the way, did you know you could insert mid-roll ads in your streams? And I'm like, great, don't do that. And it's like, hey, by the way, you can just give us control of that and we'll put them whenever you want. And I'm like, I don't want them, no thank you. And it's like, do you want a skippable or unskippable ad in the middle of your stream? I'm like, none. No ads, except banner.
Please stop. Listen to what I'm saying. Stop. We don't want this. It's
Like
so
you can now add an add button to your Elgato Stream Deck. Cool.
that would be, you know what? If you could fire that, that wouldn't be the worst thing to do during like a long-term restart or a lobby crash like we just had.
Yeah, for that. Let me do the
For that
math real
one
quick.
time.
A tenth of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
cent.
yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Worth it.
Hey, does something smell like pennies? It's our YouTube account.
If we do the
We have
next two
caution.
seasons, we might get a penny.
Caution flag in Sector 3. It looks like it's one of the Mercedes out. That would be VTech. Spinning, squirreling, trying to get that car back straight. He's done so. And he will not gain or lose really much. Back in 17th now. A little bit of excitement there for the flag bearers.
We have Aero Racing Design closing in on Cali Robb. He's been within 0.4 of a second for a few laps and getting even closer in some of the straights. We'll have 2 coming up here in just a moment. And the tire change should be coming soon for anyone who is finishing out on these inters. We've reached 10 laps for the first group that changed. And there are 10 laps to go, 11 laps to go in the race.
So would you try and push these tires a couple more laps, or would you swap now to get an even wear on both pairs?
I think it depends where you are in the pack. If you have some open space in front of you and you're not in a battle, I would ride these ones out a bit more. You're not challenging any drivers. You can be kind of conservative on the tires and then drop in, try and get some like 7 or 8 fastest laps on those intermediate tires while they're still fresh. If you are in a battle though, it's one of those 50-50. You either, is it better to stick with the guy in front of you, or is it better to drop into the pits, come out ahead?
Right.
Kind of depends who you're racing too. I had that last weekend where I dropped in maybe 4 laps early because I wasn't getting past the person in front of me when I could, and it just wasn't playing out, and I was burning tires, so I swapped, came out in space, was easy on them. When he came out of the pits, I was just ahead. And then I was the one in control of the battle.
Yeah, always a dangerous gamble, but one that you need to make sometimes. Sometimes like that, it pays off. We were on board with Aero Racing Design with Cali Robb. Yeah, switching now up to the Ferrari in 3rd place. Was 0.2, 1/10 behind Scarenzi, just sniffing that Aston Martin fumes through Sector 1 there. We'll see if he can get him back the same way that Scarenzi bested him just a few laps ago. We're headed back up the hill for lap 19 here from Austin. It is a battle for 2nd place right now between Cali Robb and Scarenzi. Cali Robb trying to make up just over half a second, and Scarenzi trying to squirrel away here through the squirrely bits. Both of them clean through, and Scarenzi able to widen that gap ever so slightly. Every second counts here, though. So we head into the technical section that Scarenzi did perfect earlier in today's race. That's the camera shot that makes me smell the asphalt every single time. It's a beautiful thing. And they're going to stay pretty static here through lap 19. Cali Robb not going to be able to get by him for this one.
And it's a challenge now too. Aero Racing Design's pushing in on the tail of Cali Robb. And if Cali's looking to strike against Scarenzi, he's going to go a little bit softer into certain corners to get the better exit. But if Aero Racing is close enough, that leaves a nice window for him to shoot the gap, jump through, or at least put enough pressure where Cali Robb can't do the battle that he wants to. And you can see Aero Racing getting even closer now to Cali Robb.
Yeah, trying to capitalize his focus. Cali's focus is elsewhere right now. Aero knows what can be done.
It's easy to think about battling one car in front of you. It's not easy to think about battling a car in each direction and looking back and forth and back and forth.
Right, yeah, and that's where the skill of strategy really comes into play. You can be a wonderful driver But the one who can do that, who can use their mirrors and really have a full sense of what's going on around them, that's when you become dangerous in these leagues. And a lot of these drivers do have that ability, but even in the heat of the moment, you throw one variable in, like some wet track, and your mind is completely elsewhere.
We saw Edwin pull a master move in Brazil to take the victory on the last lap before, where, throughout the race, he was in second. You kind of challenge a certain way. You pick certain spots on the track to challenge, or maybe you try always to go on the outside of this corner, but you don't do it 100%. So then when you actually make your move, you go the opposite direction, full send, person's not expecting it. So sometimes, this could be a case of Cali Rob defending very well, or Aero Racing, feeding him a lot of misinformation before he strikes.
Well, Houdini was able to make themselves pop up into 9th place there. Houdini started rather low on the grid. I believe you said he started in 15th or so. Yeah, up 9 positions. That is a 9, right?
That is a 9, yes.
Yeah, so it's very small.
It's a very good race for Houdini and McLaren.
Yeah, phenomenal. Capitalizing on that Red Bull pit stop of Sharia Coleslaw, but it was an overtake nonetheless. That McLaren looking pretty good up there in 9th place. Gunner still back in 16th, holding the back of the pack. Still able to make it up 1 position, while VTech is rounding out the back of the bunch. That's got to feel good for McLaren as well, getting up into the points a wee bit, trying to break that stalemate that we have in the points, the constructors, between those last 3 or 4 teams.
It's going to be a tough one. Alfa Romeo in last is 54 points behind Haas, and then Haas is 70 points behind McLaren, and McLaren is 42 points behind AlphaTauri. And then AlphaTauri is 93 points behind Mercedes.
Oh, wow. Well, Sharia just getting past Houdini there, reclaiming his spot into 9th. Yeah, we may not be seeing the movement that we're hoping for.
We also have Peter joining into a race live. D3 was the only division without a lobby explosion this week, so congratulations for making it through that.
Must be nice.
Imagine you must be so confused after that. It's like when you... I don't know what it's like.
Well, I do know what it's like for Mercedes right now, as VTech was able to get by the McLaren of Gunner back in 17th. It's a race for the bottom, but the Mercedes, for now, will not be collecting the prize.
Those have Nikki.
Put us 2 seconds on him.
Wow. Just taking off after that. We have one of the only battles on track currently, with Nikki and Fireballer down in 12th and 13th. Let's check Fireballer's penalty. 3 seconds, so Nikki would be up into 12th. So we also have some movement up in the top of the pack. Cali Rob jumping over Aero Racing Design because of a pit stop. Interesting too, I think none of the top drivers, they're staying out on these inter tires, getting close to the point where they're not stopping.
No, and I wonder, with 6 laps to go, is it even worth it to go in and switch? It's not like, I don't know, that's a tough call. I would imagine if one of them, if race day dives in, the rest of them will follow just to maintain this pacing. Sharia Coleslaw setting a new fastest, breaching the 1:46 mark here on the inters. Those Red Bulls have had a command. Sharia Coleslaw has his lap down pat right now. He is really tuned in for the speed. We have a caution flag in Sector 3. I've heard this one before. I'm not sure who it was, but it has since been cleared.
All good out there on the track. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to stop. Aero Racing stopped. He was challenging Cali Rob up in 4th.
He sure was.
So he dropped 2. However, he is on the fresh tires, so even though if no one else stops, it seems like a questionable call. It might not be because he was going to finish in 4th. He can put these new tires on. If something happens, like a safety car or an accident, he could close back up into 4th, maybe just on these tires. And if something happens, he could then be up in 1st.
Right.
So it's one of those, you lose 2 positions, but you roll the dice. He's already getting good points. His teammates still in the race. They're getting points.
That's a decent gamble.
And maybe it was a little uncontrollable for him too. They may have set up the car differently. And fresher tires sometimes just help.
5 laps to go, and we still have 2 Ferraris on the podium with a Aston Martin sandwiched in between. Most of these battles have subsided for the time being. Most of these drivers are fairly spaced out, and it's just a matter of preservation, trying to find that checkered flag instead of the grass or a wall, just trying to make it back to the pits in one piece following the conclusion of today's contest. Callie Robb still putting great pace on this Ferrari. It's been a wonderful race for both of these drivers here today.
This is where it becomes the mental challenge too. It's getting near the end of the race, and past when the race would usually end, we would be done at least 5 to 10 minutes ago on average with this lead.
Don't remind me.
Maybe a bit more. So they've been in their seats a little longer than they usually are. Your butt gets a little more sore. If you're like me in this room, you get a little more sweaty because the heater's on. And just one little slip up mentally might do it. And as you space out, there's less challenge, so there's less to keep you kind of engaged.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I really struggle with those kind of battles when I'm in a long-term, medium length race like this one, where, you can be dialed in for 27 of these laps, but that 28th lap, you head into the final corner and you don't hit it right, and it can spell disaster for your entire day, and it was all for naught. Aero Racing trying to get back up into 5th place past GSR Edwin. He does so on the inside corner, heading into the start-finish straight. No DRS needed. That second pit stop definitely paying off as he also sets a fastest lap, a 1:45.460. Absolutely shot out of a cannon is the Alpine of Aero Racing design. He is looking for blood. He may not be able to catch the pace of Gott Palmer with almost 6 seconds between them. But what a commanding overtake of the Mercedes. That was a statement from the Alpine.
And if he manages to keep up that 2-second fastest lap, he would overtake Gott Palmer. He would have a chance at the podium too. So that's where the strategy is starting to look interesting. If he can consistently hit that 1:45, he may find himself gaining the spot.
Peter, how'd you do today? Let us know. Anxious to hear how your race went in Austin. And if it was this wet and miserable.
While this was going on too, I wanted to look at some of these stats for the drivers in the top 3. We have Midwest F1 Division stats. So for Division 1 races, Aero Racing Design has raced in 76 of them. He has been on the podium, or race day. Wow, I was looking at the wrong one. Sorry, Aero Racing. I'm not going to cut you off now. He has been on the podium 5 times and has won one of the races. Race day, who is the current leader, has been in 50 races and has won 14 of them. Podium 31 times. Scarenzi.
Wait a minute. 50 races, he's podiumed 30 times?
Yes.
That is an amazing track record.
Okay. Scarenzi has been in 134 Division 1 races. 96 podiums,
Jesus.
50 wins.
Oh my God.
And then Callie Robb, who's in third, 33 starts, 1 win, 5 podiums.
Wow. So these Ferraris really are lifting some heavy weight here, keeping Scarenzi at bay. You know, it may not be the story of today, but lifetime. These guys are who is it? Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill?
I think so. Now, Scarenzi's been in the league for a while, so
Yeah,
that helps out a little bit.
of course.
Seeing more track penalties being handed out. I think you get it 4-4. After you get 3 warnings, and then you get the track penalty. So 4 different times these drivers have happened, which over 28 laps. It is bound to happen on this track if you are pushing it to the limit, especially with all of this rain out on the track. Do you see Aero Racing closing in on Gott Palmer, trying to retake 4th position after taking a pit stop for fresh intermediate tires.
Takes the inside, and Aero Racing is through on turn 1, leaving Gott Palmer to pick up the pieces behind him. Aero Racing not done there. He has 2 laps to go, and he is well under a second to hit Callie Robb in the Ferrari. Will we see Aero Racing Design return to the podium here in a thrilling penultimate lap thriller?
Going to be tough. Callie Robb is 5.7 seconds ahead. Yes.
What was the interval that we just saw?
That was
not 5 seconds.
That's Callie Robb to Scarenzi, I think. I got tripped up by that too. Callie Robb is getting close to Scarenzi. Aero Racing, though, is chewing that time down, and this is 26, like 2.25 laps left. So he could possibly, with the pace that he has had, the rest of these guys are on tires that are 17, 18 laps old. Aero Racing, only 4 laps old.
Yeah, so it's not out of the realm of possibility, especially if Callie Robb is able to catch up to Scarenzi and those two start duking it out. That may slow both of them down just enough to allow Aero Racing through. I mean, he's already, look at that time, just chomping down. He is almost 4 seconds flat from Callie Robb, shaving more than 1.5 seconds off in a single lap. It may not be enough, but it might be close.
I think it might be only because his fastest lap was 2 seconds faster than Callie and Scarenzi's fastest lap. But now they're on tires that are past the end of their lifetime, possibly. And Aero Racing on tires that have just been activated. So almost down to 3 seconds, and we are not even out of Sector 1. He could potentially go up into second. Now that's 2 passes on 2 Titans in this league. So on time alone, sure, he could do it, but can he get past both of them safely, cleanly, without penalties, and take home perhaps a 2nd place finish?
Well, all eyes are on the Alpine of Aero Racing Design as we are waiting for something amazing. Aero Racing Design, do the roar. Come on, we're waiting for it.
I believe, too, it just disappeared on me. It clicked away.
I also believe.
I believe.
Sharia Coleslaw getting by Cynical for 7th place.
He has had a couple fastest laps already. This would be his 5th fastest lap in Division 1 which he has it, I believe. Still has it by 2 seconds. 2.5 seconds.
Well, he is now a second he is a second behind Callie Robb and closing. Aero Racing is on a mission from above. Here we go as he tries to punch his way through this podium wall. Will Aero Racing walk away with some hardware after his huge gamble, swapping out his tires when everybody else said nay as they head up the finish straight into turn 1 is just 1/10 and closing past Callie Robb. Now as they head into the squirrely bits, he's losing a bit of pace. Callie Robb able to box him out from the outside. and they're going to keep it clean and tidy as they stand through the S's. But this is by no means the end of this race. Aero Racing still pushing, still trying to maintain that healthy gap between the two. Oh, this is close.
This is such a tough one. He's going to have the longest straight of the course coming in a second. He's going to dive
Here
onto the inside.
He gets him here. Will he be able to hold it?
Oh, no!
Aero Racing overcorrects too much to avoid collision with Callie Robb in third, relinquishes that spot back to him, but is still able to keep it within 0.2 of a second behind the Ferrari. Not losing too much. That looked like it could have been tragic. And the expertise of Aero Racing Design. He's now through. Callie Robb down into fourth. It's an Alpine on the podium. Here in the end of lap 28 of the Austin Grand Prix. Will he be able to hold it? It looks like he might be able to secure this third place finish. Phenomenal drive from the Alpine. There's the checkered flag. Through goes Race Day. Through goes Scarenzi. Oh, no, sorry, not yet. 7 seconds, 8 seconds. Through goes Scarenzi. Through goes Aero Racing Design. Holding on third place. What an absolute claw back to the victory. I'm calling third place a victory. That was absolutely the drive of the day for Aero Racing Design, closing almost 7 seconds in the closing laps of today's contest. Wow.
That was the perfect call for Aero Racing Design. Just, like I said, a little hard to pass, but that dropping for a pit stop to drop 2 spots to gain 3 back worked out perfectly. And looking in the chat, he said the 3 stop was elite, and that's what he was going for.
100%. It is almost 11:30 on the East Coast, and we have concluded the Austin Grand Prix here, Midwest eSports, Formula One, Division One on Nick and Mitch. It's a Ferrari, Aston Martin, Alpine podium. It doesn't get much better than that. Of course, all of today's positions and results are pending steward review and steward submissions. So our stewards will be doing the hard job here in the coming days to sift through all of those complaints and reports from the drivers and provide us with a finished result list ahead of next week's race. Next week will be taking us back to Monaco, January 11th. We will be tackling the historic Monaco Grand Prix. That one is always set to be a spectacle, even though it may be one of the lowest overtaking tracks of the season. You can always expect an interesting race nonetheless.
We also have Race Day 2016 saying he owes Callie Robb for that win, and very much so. Callie Robb doing the work to fend off Scarenzi for as long as he can, and anyone else who challenged his teammate, but massive points for Ferrari.
Well, as the drivers celebrate, we will say one final time, we don't have our cameras, so we will be unable to swap back to our screen here at the end of today's broadcast. So we'll wrap it up here from the finish, from the standings. Thank you very much for joining us for Midwest Esports Formula One Division One on Nick and Mitch Week 9 action from COTA, Circuit of the Americas. Race Day taking the commanding victory over the grid here today. Thank you very much to all of our YouTube members.
Yes, executive producers Bone Crusher 2D, Coach 34, and my mom. Co-producers Captain Snowbeard, Killer Vapor, and Kirsten, and our fans and Fans Plus. You can become a member, help support the channel. We put it all back in to make all the cool stuff we do. If not, subscribe, and everything else that's in the links down below.
Yes. Well done. Wow. Buzzer beater right there. Thank you very much for joining us for another edition of Division One action for Midwest Esports Formula One on Nick and Mitch. We will see you next week. Same place, same time, January 11th from Monaco. I'm Nick.
And I'm Mitch.
Have a great night, everyone.